with the 29th pick,
with the 40th, 71st pick
in the 2023
NFL Draft.
We're about to make you a New Orleans Saint.
You're going to see your name come off this board here in just a couple of minutes, all right?
The New Orleans Saints select.
Welcome into our New Orleans Saints draft recap show alongside neworleans.football's Nick Underhill. I'm Erin Summers. The draft is done. It was a wild 3 days, and the Saints, as usual, made a few trades, got some players that they really loved. Didn't happen until day 3. They did address a lot of needs, taking 7 players in rounds 1 through 7. Nick, let's start with round 1. They stayed at 29, which was their first pick, and they addressed a big need on the defensive line, taking defensive lineman from Clemson in Bryan, Bresee. Somebody you liked from the very beginning. That was your guy.
It was. Yeah, no, look, they needed help there. It was just such a specific need, and I thought that was going to be the best player that they could get on the defensive line, either at end or defensive tackle. And he looks like someone that should be able to come in right away, contribute. I think he's even going to be competing for the #1 spot on the depth chart right away. All the guys they have there are newcomers with Shepard and Kalen Saunders, so it's going to be an equal battle. And I think by the end of training camp, he should be sitting atop that depth chart as someone that can help against the run and also the pass. So I thought it was a really good fit for them as far as best player available and need, and it just checked both boxes, and it was the best marriage of both worlds.
Another need that they addressed in round 2, defensive end from Notre Dame, Isaiah Foskey. He seems like he was so excited to be here, to be a part of the Saints, to learn behind somebody like Cam Jordan. What'd you like about him?
I like that it just checked the next box on that list. It was just kind of a weird draft where it was like, if you listed out the needs for them, it was just kind of like they were sitting up there going 1, 2, 3 down the list. And then defensive end, I thought was the other biggest need. Tackle, defensive end. Best guy available, I think, at 40 at that position. There might have been some other spots that they could have went to. I think that he's still a little bit raw as a pass rusher, which is weird to say considering he had 22 sacks over the last 2 years, but it was kind of like a lot of speed tackles. He still needs to add a little bit to his repertoire as far as his pass rush plan and all that stuff. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement there, but you have the production as well. So I think that he's going to fit in pretty good at that spot. He can start out on the depth chart, maybe behind Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson, hopefully Peyton Turner, and work his way up at some point. But I think he's a good addition to that group, and he should be able to help against the more athletic quarterbacks, which is something that Dennis Allen pointed out.
Definitely. So the Saints go defense for their first 2 picks. Let's hear from both players after they were selected in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, it was super exciting. You know, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to play in the NFL, and, you know, getting that call has been a moment that I've definitely always looked forward to, and to get a call from the Saints was you know, just something you can't even imagine until it happens. So it was really exciting.
The Saints picked me because they know they can put me anywhere, and they know I'm a disruptive type of defensive end. That's what I try to do. If sacks are not good enough, you get a sack, I'm trying to go for the ball. So they know I'm a disruptive defensive end. Get me on the field, I'll cause havoc. So that's what they wanted to do. So they drafted me. They know you can put me inside, outside. Even put me at linebacker if they need to.
Rounding out day 2 in round 3, the Saints decided to go on the offensive side of the ball with TCU running back Kendre Miller. He is somebody that said he is a combination of Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor. He said he's a little ground and pound, but he has great balance. How do you think he's going to fit in with the running back room?
Well, I'm fascinated with this pick because they just signed Jamal Williams. They do have Alvin Kamara. They didn't draft Kendre Miller to sit and watch 2 other guys play. He's going to come in, he's going to compete. And he said on an interview with WWL Radio that he's coming for that #1 spot. He doesn't care who's there. So you've got to love the mindset of it. It's going to be a really fascinating battle, and seeing how everybody fits in and gets their carries. It's something to really watch during camp, and it kind of has a little bit of shades of 2017 when they had Adrian Peterson and they drafted Alvin Kamara, and it kind of just became too many cooks in the kitchen. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how this all shakes out.
We'll see how Miller is able to produce once we get on the field for training camp. Let's listen in on how he felt after he was selected by the Saints.
It feels great. You know, I'm ready to get the word. You know, I can't wait to learn from Alvin. You know, just a bit situation, you know, with the running backs or whatever. But I'm ready to get the word, most definitely.
Moving on to Saturday, day 3 of the NFL draft is when we saw the Saints finally get a little more active, and we saw a lot of trades for them. They moved up to start the day all the way up to pick 103 for an offensive guard.
Nick Saldiveri, and I talked to a couple other teams, their scouts, they had him as a top-rated interior blocker on their board, so it felt like the Saints needed to do that to get their guy, if that was their guy, and obviously it was since they made that move. And it was interesting because after they took him, it kind of started a run on guards throughout that round. So they needed to make that move. I like the idea of it. Andres Pete is in the final year of his contract. The team hasn't picked up the 5th-year option on Cesar Ruiz. I think they might try to work something out with him that's at a little bit lower money. But guard is going to be a need a year from now. So getting somebody in the mix that you can develop, find out if you have the answer there in the 4th round, I think it was a smart move.
Head coach Dennis Allen said they anticipated that run on offensive linemen. They really liked Saldiveri, so they decided to go out and get him, make sure that they solidified that need there. And then they got a quarterback, Fresno State quarterback Jake Haener. This pick was so fun because he said he grew up a Saints fan. He grew up watching Drew Brees, really mimicking his game after him. As stature-wise, they're very similar, but he is very productive as a thrower. I mean, and he has the Fresno State connection with Derek Carr. It just seemed like everything fell into place for Jake.
Yeah, the story there almost seems too perfect. Like, it's almost a little like, wait, is this all true? But it is. Look, I think your feeling on this pick is going to be your own personal philosophy. I'm someone that likes the idea of pulling a lottery ticket at quarterback every couple of years and seeing if you hit, because if you do, you get a gold bar. It's the most valuable thing in sports to have a cheap quarterback on a rookie contract. So it's worth the shot.
I mean, you look at his stats, 68 pass completion percentage, over 9,000 yards, and 68 touchdowns. So somebody that's definitely coming in here and said he wants to continue to prove himself. Their 146 pick, Minnesota safety Jordan Howden. He's fast. He had over 500 special team snaps, which is something that head coach Dennis Allen said is key as you move on in the draft.
And look, for Haener, they gave him 6 feet at the combine. He might have gave him like that dirty look to lift the measuring stick a little bit, because there is a difference between 5'11" and 6 foot. But I like the Howden pick too. For a team that uses safeties the way the Saints do, they move them around, they use them in a lot of different packages. Howden's been really good against the run, so that's something that the Saints can do. They can put him in the box, he can be a run stopper from there, and they can feel him out and see what else he can do. So if you can play and you're a safety, Dennis Allen's gonna find a way to use you.
They made a big move with their last pick. They moved up from 257 to 195 for Wake Forest wide receiver A.T. Perry. I mean, that's a big jump, and they traded some assets. So why do you think the Saints wanted that player, that wide receiver?
That was maybe like one of my favorite picks of the draft too. He had really much higher expectation of where he was going to be drafted. A lot of people thought he was a 3rd-round talent. The production that he's had in college, the numbers are all there. He's a bigger guy. They need bigger, stronger receivers to fill out the depth chart with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed kind of at the top of it, and then Mike Thomas, obviously. But getting a few guys in the pipeline that can be that physical receiver, I really, really like the pick. I like the value there. And talking to him after the draft, he seems motivated. That chip is on his shoulder. He thought he should have got drafted higher. He's coming in with something to prove. Come in and prove it and just claim that spot and be the guy that everybody thought you were going to be.
The Saints have definitely made a point of saying they needed somebody that can make contested catches, so maybe that will be Perry. Let's hear from some of the guys that went on day 3.
I'm an offensive lineman at the end of the day. I'm not in one box. I don't play tackle, guard, center. Like, I play it all. And I take pride in that. I take pride in having the ability to do that because it's not easy. Everybody can't do that. So I take pride in it for sure. I think I have a lot of strong points in my game, like my feet, my anchor strength, my hands, and versatility is kind of just one focal point that kind of separates me from everybody else.
As a kid, I kind of had a feeling that I wasn't going to be, over 6 foot or over 6'1". I was going to be on the shorter end. And I knew I was always trying to be a quarterback. And for me, I wanted to go look at somebody that emulated what I could be. And for me, that was always Drew Brees. Literally switched that number in college and wore it because I thought he was a great leader, did everything the right way. The way his teammates rose to the occasion because of his passion for the game was contagious, and obviously being a super accurate, rhythmic passer was something I wanted to someday turn into. And I can't believe, sitting here that I'm a New Orleans Saint, and like I said, I just can't wait to work.
I'm a playmaker. I'm a baller. I love football. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about my position. And I just, I just want to come and make a difference. Set the tone and be there for the teams.
The Saints did sign 11 players as undrafted free agents. They have had a track record of success in finding talented players. One that comes to mind is wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, who they got last season. Nick, who were some of the players that they were able to sign after the draft that stand out to you?
Yeah, there's a handful of them, and the easiest way to tell what the team is thinking about players is by looking at the guarantees that they received. Shaq Davis got $200,000. Mark Evans, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Teron Armstead's college, got $200,000. So there's a couple guys right off the bat that it's telling you other people in the league wanted them and the Saints were willing to outpay everybody to get them. Last year's only $200,000 player, Rashid Shaheed. So just follow the money. It'll tell you who they have a high stock on coming into it. Not necessarily always what dictates who makes the team. Some guys in the past have been $10,000 players and still made the roster, but those are a couple names that I have circled right away.
Yeah, you mentioned Mark Evans out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's somebody that came in to the HBCU Combine here that the Saints hosted, so they were able to see him in that capacity. And they did pick up a tight end because, as I mentioned, they traded Adam Troutman to Denver in that last pick of the draft for the Saints. So maybe filling out some of their tight end room, looking at some people, it was Joel Wilson from Central Michigan. So we'll see how he does. And then we can't not mention the fact that they did take somebody from Tulane.
Yeah, Nick Anderson, got to mention him. I like him. I think he's a really athletic player. He plays hard. There's a lot of passion behind how he approaches his job. It's going to be fun watching him throughout camp, and this always having somebody local that you can kind of put your eyes on and hype up a little bit. It just makes things a little bit more fun.
Yeah, he was funny. He mentioned he's moving from uptown to downtown to staying in the city, though, so that'll be fun to watch. Here's head coach Dennis Allen after it was all said and done.
Yeah, look, we feel good about what we were able to accomplish over the last 3 days. We felt like we had a lot of quality players that fit what we're looking for, and they filled some of the needs that we had on the team.
Everyone from the 2023 draft class and the undrafted free agents that were signed will be here very soon. Rookie minicamp is May 12th through 14th. Nick, who are you looking forward to seeing there, and what maybe positions are you going to keep an eye on?
Well, I'd like to say one of the first three guys, but there's no hitting in these camps, so we're going to scratch the defensive lineman off. Kendre Miller is probably not going to be participating. So I'm going to be watching A.T. Perry. I just want to see how he moves, how he catches the ball. I think he's probably going to be the guy that generates the most hype coming out of there overall. So I got him at the top of my list.
We'll both have a lot of coverage as rookie minicamp starts. Nick, tell us where we can find you.
neworleans.football. We got everything there.
All right, sounds good. And we'll have everything on neworleanssaints.com as rookie minicamp starts in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for joining us for our draft recap show. Nick Underhill, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.